The Ducks get buried by the Colorado Avalanche, a review of Greg Cronin, and much more on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayers. Thanks for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Kyle Carr, and I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've covered collegiate sports for multiple years, including college hockey, but today we're talking Anaheim Ducks. First things first, we got to talk about the Ducks getting just absolutely destroyed in the third period by the Colorado Avalanche. Then we're going to have a little review of Coach Cronin and then have a preview of the Minnesota Wild game on Tuesday. So first things first, getting into the action that was Sunday night at the Honda Center, as it was the Ducks' last home game of the 24-25 season. It's a very unfortunate thing to have to say, as there is no postseason action out here in Orange County. But there was a couple decent moments that happened at the fan appreciation night, but the end of the game was not one of them. First things that comes to mind, and something that we definitely need to talk about, is that Ian Moore gets his first NHL start after success down in San Diego as a defenseman. So right off the hop, he comes from Harvard, goes to San Diego, has a great season so far down there, even though it was only a few games. And then he gets the call up to come up to Anaheim just before the end of the season and get some home ice touches out at the Honda Center. And he actually played pretty well. He had a couple shots on net, was moving the puck pretty well, big hits, definitely mostly playing a shutdown game. So it was good to see the young Duck get his debut. But as I said, the Ducks did drop this game as the Colorado Avalanche just came back in the third period and the Ducks kind of just seemed out of it. The unfortunate part, not only did they lose, the squad that the Avalanche had was basically an AHL roster. They didn't have most of their key players, as they are resting for their playoff debut. Well, not really debut, but their playoff series against Dallas. So just a game that the Ducks should have came away with a win, especially having a 2-0 lead moving into the third, but they just fell flat. The first goal was scored by Mason McTavish, so he gets his 22nd goal of the season. Terry got an assist on that, giving him 34 assists. So the scoring continues for both of those players. And then Colangelo got his 9th goal of the season. So it's good to see he's still getting some goals out there, finishing out the year strong, just providing that, a little bit more confidence moving into the off season, especially for these younger players. The unfortunate part about Colangelo's goal is it came right as a power play ended for Anaheim. So does not count towards their power play percentage. Technically, they go 0-2 on the power play last night. So their special teams woes continue. But with the pressure that was given during the power play, it did lead to Colangelo scoring. So kind of a weird not power play goal, because how quickly he scored as the time ran out. The player that was in the box could not even gotten on the ice for more than a step. So I'll give the Ducks that one at least some credit, as they played pretty well with there. There's both power plays saw some decent shots and some good puck movement. But overall, the entire game, the Ducks just seemed very, very slow, lackluster, kind of just more reactionary than actually being what's the word I'm trying to think? Anticipatory here. So it was just a very flat, slow game for them. A lot of times they weren't moving their feet and more just watching the play happen. Not really getting engaged on those 50-50 pucks. There was not a lot of support off the rush whenever they did have some offensive chances. It just seemed like they were kind of out of it. And I mean, it is the last home game of the season, so they're probably feeling some feelings about that. It's the last time you're going to be in front of the home fans. You're not in the playoffs. There's tension there. There's a little bit of not really anxiety, but probably just some subconscious sadness in a way. And you just don't really come out and play as well as they could have if it was like a regular mid-season game, not the last one of the season. So they definitely look like a team that's out of the playoffs. That's for sure. You could just see it on the faces, their energy, and it is unfortunate. You would want to see them put some kind of good winning effort, especially when you have the lead going into the third in front of the home fans. Give them something to celebrate at the end of the season. They were doing pretty well, and then it just fell apart for them. And I think that overall slowness and not really being engaged throughout the whole game just finally caught up with them. Coach Cronin was definitely upset with it. He said that they just were not playing the way they were supposed to be playing at all in the first and then the third as well. They just dropped the ball, gave up, and just let this kind of AHL Colorado team take away the win that they could have had. And the one thing though that drove me nuts watching the game, especially not being at the Honda Center, I unfortunately couldn't be there due to some stuff I had to take care of, but I was really hoping to be there. And so I'm like watching this thinking, hey, this is the last game. The fans got to be loving it. It's fan appreciation night. There's a bunch of stuff they do for the fans during that game. And then the first Colorado goal goes in and the Honda Center erupted. It sounded like they were playing at the Bell Center or the ball, whatever the heck they call it up there in Colorado. It sounded like a home game for Colorado. And then I'm sure like when you hear your fans in your barn as a player erupt for the opposing team and it's supposed to be a home game, like wouldn't you kind of get a little down from that? And who knows what the conversation was in the locker room previous to the third. I'm sure knowing how it's been spoken about, the way that Cronin approaches the team and the way he talks to the players, it probably wasn't the most positive conversation that they had, even though they did have the win. And they came out and just landed flat. And then the home crowd's cheering against them, or at least it feels like they're cheering against them. The whole place was loud. You could hear every Colorado goal. It was erupted as if it was a Colorado home game. And I'm calling out the fans here in Orange County. Like, that's ridiculous that, yeah, they're out of the playoffs. Yes, it's a Colorado team that's going into the playoffs, but why is it that loud for the away team? It's just defeating for the guys that are on your team. The local crowd supposed to be there to support and to lift these guys up and say, hey, we're Orange Country. We know that we're out of the playoffs, but we're here to support and everything. And so, of course, like I could see why the Ducks ended up giving up the lead and giving up those the power play goal that they gave up and then the empty netter at the end. It's very defeating when you're supposed to be getting cheered on and supposed to be your last home game and the entire crowd is just erupting for the opposing team. That's not cool, and a very, very sad way for the Anaheim Ducks to end their Honda Center season, as they do have 2 away games. So it's not completely over yet. They have a chance to at least get a couple wins before the end of the year, but when it's down and out and you're playing the last 3 games against teams that are already locked in for the playoffs, I'm sure it definitely doesn't help the subconscious of the players. And I'm a little flustered from it. I can't even say my words right because I was hoping to see a good win as the last home game and to see a little bit more appreciation from the fans as it was fan appreciation night. And it just didn't seem to be that way. And this is why people don't consider Anaheim a hockey town when the crowd is that into it for the opposing team and not the home team. So we got to do better, fans. We got to be better. We got to get this home team to feel like it's a home team. All right. And speaking of home teams and feeling things, we got to review Coach Cronin, as he was upset with the Ducks' performance last night. But how are we feeling about Coach Cronin's performance this entire season? I'm going to do a little review of that and whether or not he should be let go or not this offseason, and why. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with the marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. If you're posting a job, it's super easy and simple, it's free. And then within a day, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. So visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And now to look at what the performance of the coach of the Anaheim Ducks, Greg Cronin, entering his second season as head coach for Anaheim. How really well did he do as the front man for this squad? Now, he was hired in June 5th, 2023, replacing Dallas Aikens. And to just take a little review of how Aikens was when he was the coach for his last season, the Ducks went 23, 47, and 12 with 58 points at the end of that year. That year, the Ducks scored 206 goals and gave up 335 goals. So that's a differential of minus 129. There was zero offense and zero defense for the most part when it came to that team. They were pretty much last, bottom of the league in every single category, 30th, 31st, 32nd, I think a couple 29th places, but pretty much every statistic category, they were at the bottom of the pack. The only category they were first in that year was shots allowed per game on average. So not really the stat that you want to be leading as a team. And that's kind of what ultimately led to Dallas Aikens getting the boot. He was a good coach for younger players. He had coached a lot of the guys down in San Diego. He knew how to talk to younger players and kind of help develop, but it just wasn't getting really any results that the coaching staff or head coach, sorry, the GM staff and president, like the real front office, they were just not getting the results that they wanted from Aikens. So then they bring in Greg Cronin. Now let's see how this guy has been doing, as Coach Cronin came over from the Colorado Eagles, of all things, as they basically just lost to the Colorado Eagles on Monday or Sunday. Sorry. So they were in the first year, the Ducks went 27, 50, and 5. So 59 points, only 1 point higher than they had with Dallas Aikens. So understandable, with you can only do so much with the squad in front of you, and it's your first year getting people used to your play style and your coaching antics and the way that the system and just the overall running of the team is going to be. So not really expecting a huge jump. I mean, he's no John Montgomery, or Jim Montgomery, sorry. But you would hope for something a little bit better than just 1 point out of the season. They had 203 goals and gave up 293. So goal differential of minus 90, a little bit of an improvement there. At least they weren't in the triple digits at the time. And they did have an improved power play from 31st to 23rd, and they dropped from the most shots allowed on average to sixth most. So a little bit of improvement in certain categories that, you could see there was a little bit more defense oriented coaching coming from Greg Cronin and not really a lot of focus on the offensive end of things. They did so it's a first year, and he's taking on this NHL squad, coming in, trying it out. Things were what they were. This year, second year, the sophomore slump. Was there one? Not for Cronin as a head coach, as the team was a lot more successful this year. They were 35, 37, and 8 so far. They have 78 points, and there's still 2 games to reach 500 if they win both of those games. So definitely a step up from last year. The team was a lot more well built and comfortable, and you could see a lot more chemistry throughout the team and understanding of the coaching techniques and styles and everything. Looking at the assistant staff, definitely a little rough, as they did go down again in a lot of the categories like power play and penalty kills. So some frustrations there. They scored 214 goals so far, and they've given up 256. That's a goal differential of minus 42. So just constant improvement in that area of not allowing the other teams to score as much on us as we have in prior years. They did jump back up to the most shots allowed per game on average, so that's a little unfortunate, as they are lighting Dostal up back there, and Gibson, when he was in, he was getting lit up. So definitely not as it's weird, because it's like, yes, the goal differential has gone down, so they're scoring a bit more. They didn't give up as much goals, as they went from 293 given up to 256 so far. I doubt they're going to be giving up 40 goals in the next 2 games. That's a little impossible. So there's a lockdown on goals. Dostal definitely was a part of that, as he was playing solid back there for the Ducks. And when Gibson was healthy, they were both at a 911, 910 for most of the season save average. So their save percentage. And so there's definitely success from the goaltending, but in regards to the defense being solid in front of the goaltending, you can see they're giving up the most shots per game in the entire league. So that's a little hard. The goaltending, speaking of Dostal and Gibson, is 9th in the league at a 900 right now. So definitely a step up. They had some of the worst positions when it came to goaltending, and now being in 9th definitely helped having Dostal get that experience. I think there's nothing that can take away, like, there's nothing more important than experience. Is it frustrating that it was that much of shots, and like that the team in front of him, the defense, seemed to be struggling a little bit, especially towards the end of the season. And say what you want about Radko Gudas, he seemed to be kind of going down in his category of success, and little things were kind of creeping into the team at the end of the year. He deserves to continue his progress with the team, I think. When it comes to Coach Cronin, I don't think that there needs to be a firing this offseason. I believe he is showing success. He's showing improvement. There's been flash in the pans. I think the biggest issue that I see with him so far is his inability to play players in the right situations or the right positioning, putting them on the right lines. He really wasn't much for mixing up the lines, as he finally broke up the Vetrano, Strome, and Terry line on the 80th game of the season. There's definitely he's a stickler to his ways, and I would like to see a little bit more improvement of putting players where they're supposed to be. Like, look at Cutter Gauthier this season. He was basically in the fourth and third line for most of the season. And then all of a sudden he gets put up on the top line, where most people that were watching and knew about Cutter and his experience and what scouts were expecting out of him was that he should be up there in the top line. And then as soon as he does, his scoring just starts improving. Leo Carlson starts improving. There was just an immediate transition of success there. So seems like he kind of has a hard time with getting the transitions and the changes in the lineup that he needs. However, there has been overall success and improvement from Cronin as the coach. So I don't see him being removed from the head coach position during the offseason. However, if the Ducks do start a pretty lackluster season next year, and if they're not looking good by American Thanksgiving, I would say get rid of him and give him the boot. That's too much of a hill to climb by if they're not doing well by that time. And seeing how things went this year, I don't see him picking a team up again if they're behind. So definitely will be an interesting piece to keep track of, and who knows what's going to happen. Pat Verbeek is a very tight-lipped man, so not exactly sure what his expectation was and what he's looking for doing in the offseason. So we'll see how things go. Speaking of seeing how things go, the Ducks they're out there in Minnesota right now as they're about to take on the Wild on Tuesday. So we'll check out what's going to be happening in that game for Tuesday. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love getting a handful of the no shells variety, Wonderful Pistachios. They're easy to quickly grab on the go, and I need a little protein bump, especially if I'm about to go hit a workout or go do a stick time at the rink, and I need that little extra energy and just getting that protein in. Wonderful Pistachios always has me covered. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And now the Ducks are heading out to the Minnesota area and taking on the Wild. And it's going to be an interesting game, as the Wild most likely will be kind of like the Colorado situation, where they're not going to be playing their top players in that game as they've got the playoffs coming up. So expect a little different roster for Minnesota, but overall it looks like they will be having Marc-Andre Fleury in net, and I'll get to that in just a second on why it looks like that. But right now, just to give you a little understanding of how the Wild are doing at the moment, they are 4-6 in their last 10. They've been kind of dropping a few of their games. They dropped their game to Calgary 2-4. Then they had a back-to-back against Vancouver where they won 3-2. So it's been a little varying between the two teams. They've been a little up and down, back and forth, left and right. Their goal differential in the last 10 games is -7, as they've scored 30 and given up 37. So there's a little hope there for the Ducks, as they've been unable to keep the puck out of their net as much as they've been scoring. The Wild are 26th in goals scored per game with only 2.74. So if the Ducks can get their scoring going quickly and get a lead up before, they're not really coming back if the Ducks have more than 3 goals, which is another testament to hopefully give the Ducks an advantage there. They are 16th in goals allowed at 2.89. So it's a tight game between the Wild and their opponents. So they're not really scoring much and they're not really giving up much. So it's with Marc-Andre Fleury in net, you know you're going to have a hard time getting the puck in the net as an opponent. So Anaheim's got to be very aware of that and just try to get as many shots as possible and try to get in those higher danger areas and not play a flat game like they did against Colorado. They got to be quick, moving their feet, getting to those 50-50 pucks and really just supporting each other on the rush. And Mason McTavish's goal was scored on the rush, and then Colangelo's was kind of that weird late power play. So there's definitely some opportunities for Anaheim to get some good offense in this game and come away with a win. On the Wild right now are 19th in their power play as they have a 21.1% success rate. So the little worrisome if Anaheim is undisciplined and gives them a lot of power play chances. Looks like the Wild will most likely score against the Ducks on the power play, as we know Anaheim's PK has been struggling. Their PK is 30th, though, so if Anaheim can get some power plays, they might have an opportunity to increase their power play percentage, as the Wild only has a 72.3% penalty kill. So there's some opportunity there. Let's see how it goes as discipline goes and whether or not the Ducks can cause the Wild to give them some penalties. And usually that comes from playing fast and a quick game and a more physical game, get them frustrated, and that results in penalties. So hopefully the Ducks can actually get something going there. And it could be like I said, could be the Ducks' power opportunity to get some power play goals. The only issue, though, like I said, Marc-Andre Fleury, this guy, he will most likely be getting the net against Anaheim, as they've had a little bit of a break since they're back-to-back. And Fleury's record against the Ducks is what is worrisome for me. I am terrified, as he right now has a career record of 23-5 against the Ducks. Goals against average against the Ducks, 1.82 and 0.932 save percentage. He is literally the Ducks' kryptonite. He is an outstanding goalkeeper. A lot of those games came from his time with Vegas. But this guy knows how to completely blanket the Anaheim Ducks. And the way he's going out right now at the end of his season, his end of his career, you could see him really wanting to stand on his head and put out a good show for the end of the season. Though Stahl, on the other hand, he's played against the Wild 5 times. He's 1-3-0, as one of those games he doesn't get the credit, as he came in to the game as relief. He has a 3.06 goals against average against the Wild and a 9.15 save percentage. So not as successful as Marc-Andre Fleury when it comes to playing the Wild, but you know, he's definitely playing a solid game. 9.15, that's not bad at all. Could definitely reduce the goals against average. So let's hope Anaheim can put a good defensive structure in front of him on Tuesday. Unfortunately, another record here that's not in the favor of Anaheim. They have lost 9 out of the last 10 games against Minnesota. Their last win was last season in January 2024 with a 3-2 win. This season, it has not been pretty for Anaheim. They have given up 5 goals in both games. They lost their first game 2-5, and then the second game this season 1-5. Let's hope that is not a repeat this game and that they can actually keep the puck out of the net and come away with a win of 5-2 or 5-1 on Anaheim's side and not allow the Wild to walk all over them. But like I said, you got Marc-Andre Fleury most likely getting in net. He's the kryptonite of the Ducks. He's finishing up his career, so he's going to be playing out of his mind with that smile that's so hard to get mad at, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Ducks need to be disciplined. They need to play fast. They need to play their style of rush hockey and really just build up on each other and know, like, this is it. This is the end. Yeah, we're out of it, but we got to go out solid. And you know how hockey players are. They don't want to lose either way. They don't like to give up. So I'm looking forward to an exciting game, hopefully a fast-paced game, and I mean, we saw how the Wild played against the Sharks with an 8-7 overtime win. Let's see if it's a shootout like that, or if the Ducks can get some goals saved and score some more goals on the power play. We'll look forward to how things go, and I'll have all the updates on that game and some other updates. The Ducks did have some signings recently, and we'll get into that tomorrow and really just get into the off-season preparedness as the season is about to be over. So thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So make sure you go like and subscribe to that. Like and subscribe to Locked On. If you're listening, go to the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and continue to share with all of your friends, family, and Ducks fans out there. Thank you so much. I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.